Among the 1990s, children's programming was beginning to ramp up. Once the groundwork was more or less laid out, top competing channels like Cartoon Network and Nickelodeon were taking up most of the attention. While both were neck and neck for viewers, Cartoon Network always came across more for older kids with its lineup and darker humor and edgier characters. Nickelodeon had the impression of being more colorful and oriented at younger kids. Part of what helped solidify that image were popular cartoons like Jimmy Neutron. However, the brand wouldn't have been able to add this character to its roster if it didn't launch the franchise with its in-house movie studio. While the franchise creator, John A. Davis, hasn't been as active as he once was, to this day, people genuinely remember Jimmy Neutron as one of Nickelodeon's well-known mascots. Headed by Davis as director and co-writing with Steve Odekirk, this duo, who was with the concept since the beginning, made a pilot film that marginally still holds up today. The story is about the title character, Jimmy Neutron, voiced by Debbie Derryberry, a young boy with more brainpower than your average college science professor. After indirectly making contact with an alien race known as the Goobots, the alien race descends upon Neutron's home of Retroville and captures all the kids' parents for a ritual sacrifice. Before this, Neutron lived an average social life. He's not a popular kid despite his intellect, but that's typical even for your regular smart kid. He has two buddies, Carl, voiced by Rob Paulson, and Sheen, voiced by Jeffrey Garcia, who appreciate his company, but that's because they're not your average youth either. There's also Cindy Vortex, voiced by Carolyn Lawrence, who feels slighted because before Neutron, she was the smartest kid in school. This is just some of the characters that appear in the film. Others obviously received more focus in the show, but there are moments with Miss Fowl, voiced by Andrea Martin, Nick, voiced by Candy Milo, Libby, played by Crystal Scales, Judy Neutron, played by Megan Cavanaugh, and Hugh Neutron, played by Mark DiCarlo. Playing the main two villains against Jimmy Neutron is King Goobot, voiced by Patrick Stewart, and Ooblar, voiced by Martin Short. Together, the cast of actors all do a great job performing. Unfortunately, the comedy bits are where it's hit and miss. It can produce a chuckle here and there, but much of the jokes wouldn't impress an adult showing this to their kid. Jimmy Neutron is probably one of the few adult jokes to come off humorous. The main joke is that he's talking with adult words no one understands. The interactions between Jimmy and his robotic dog Goddard are more comical because they both understand one another. The dialogue between King Goobot and Jimmy are good too, but the rest is mildly juvenile. Sheen is a hyperactive goofball with zero attention span, while Carl is the exact opposite to that. Especially with these two individuals, there were bound to be some gags that were more childish than necessary. The story does have its moments of humanity in it. Jimmy does have loving parents despite his large cranium, and there is a lesson to be learned from at the end of the day. Guessing more of the juvenile humor came from Odekirk. He is, after all, the writer to the Thumb Wars parody films. Another strange thing to incorporate into this feature was cinematography, handled by Steve Kolb and Chris Sherrod. Both named people would not go on to do a whole lot more. And what was the reason for having cinematography again? This is an animated film. Speaking of which, the animation is quite intriguing to look at. Why? Because more than likely, it's the exact opposite someone would think compared to what will be said next. Which is, the animation is actually not badly done. That's right. Most would definitely agree by today's standards that it doesn't hold up. And in some places, it doesn't. Several backgrounds feel unfinished and too simple in design. But what helps conceal that are the energized, colorful characters and their expressive facial features. If the characters don't look like hollow shells, that's one step in the right direction. Lastly, the music composed mainly by John Debney and Brian Causey was efficient at their jobs too. Unfortunately, there's no main theme for Jimmy, instrumentally speaking. However, the soundtrack to the film is a nice throwback to times gone by. Thankfully, that's a datedness that is welcome to hear. To some now, this kid's film will feel dated, which in some areas it is. This is mainly in the parts of the jokes. There's also cinematography. Where? I don't know. Animation may also seem less detailed, but overall the characters are what counts, the voice acting is great, and so is the music.